Before there was freedom of speech, there was a man who died for it. Before liberty became law, it existed only as a seed, planted in the heart of one man who refused to be silent. That man was Socrates. Athens, 399 B.C. The marble city glimmers under the Aegean sun, proud and weary all at once. Once the crown of the ancient world, Athens had led an empire and defeated the mighty Persians. But decades of war with Sparta have left it fractured, its people poorer, its confidence shaken, its democracy brittle. Citizens argue in the assembly about blame. Generals accuse philosophers of corrupting the youth. And fear, the ancient enemy of reason, begins to whisper through the streets. Into this weary city walks an old man in a simple cloak, barefoot, unarmed, and utterly unconcerned with power. He owns nothing. He teaches nothing by lecture. He only asks questions. For 40 years, Socrates has done what no politician dares to do. He listens and then asks, why? He stops strangers in the marketplace and asks what courage means. He questions poets about beauty, priests about piety, and soldiers about virtue. He never claims to know the answers, only to know that he does not know. This humility infuriates the proud. By showing that others do not understand what they claim to teach, he exposes the fragility of every false certainty. Athens calls itself free, but few things threaten a complacent society more than an honest question. And so his questions become dangerous. He asks why a democracy should fear dissent. He asks whether a ruler who acts unjustly can still be virtuous. He asks whether obeying an unjust law is itself a moral crime. Each question is a mirror held to the city's soul, and many do not like what they see. To his students, Plato, Xenophon, and countless young men of the Agora, Socrates is a moral compass in an age of cynicism. To the powerful, he is a nuisance who will not keep his place. In 399 B.C., the patience of the city runs out. 3 citizens, Meletus the poet, Anytus the politician, and Lycon the orator, bring formal charges. They accuse Socrates of impiety, of refusing to honor the city's gods, and of corrupting its youth. But behind the language of law lies something simpler. They accuse him of making people think. At 70 years old, Socrates stands before a jury of 500 fellow Athenians. His life is on the line. He could beg for forgiveness. He could promise silence. He could tell them what they want to hear. Instead, he defends not his innocence but his purpose. He tells the jury that the unexamined life is not worth living. He says that every man carries a divine voice within, a whisper of conscience that warns him when he is about to do wrong. That voice, he says, comes before the law, above the law, beyond the reach of any majority. If you offer to let me go on condition that I no longer speak or question, he says, I would answer, I shall obey the God rather than you. The courtroom falls silent. For the first time in recorded history, a man declares that truth is higher than government. That moment is the birth of conscience in the West. The jury votes. By a narrow margin, he is found guilty. When asked to propose his own punishment, Socrates smiles. He suggests that for serving the city all his life, perhaps he deserves free meals in the public hall, a lifetime of honor instead of shame. The joke does not land. The jury condemns him to death. Yet even in condemnation, Socrates wins. The state can end his life, but not his example. In his final days, friends visit him in prison. They beg him to flee. The guards can be bribed. But Socrates refuses. To escape would be to betray his principles. He has spent his life teaching that one must never repay injustice with injustice. If he breaks the laws now, he makes them meaningless. And so he stays. He spends his last morning speaking calmly of philosophy. He tells his companions that the soul is immortal, that death is only a change of place. He speaks of harmony, of virtue, of the good that never dies. Even facing death, he remains a teacher. When the jailer brings the cup of hemlock, Socrates receives it without trembling. He drinks slowly, without fear. As the poison creeps through his veins, He reminds his friends that a good man has nothing to fear, neither in life nor in death. Then he lies down, covers himself, and grows still. Athens has silenced him, but the silence does not last. From the seed of that death grows something the world has never seen before, a philosophy that marries reason with moral duty. Plato, his student, will spend the rest of his life keeping that seed alive. Through Plato, the idea passes to Aristotle. Through Aristotle to Rome. Through Rome to Aquinas and the Scholastics. And from them to the thinkers of the Enlightenment, who will one day write that all men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Socrates never used the word freedom. He spoke instead of virtue, of justice, of the good. But every time he chose conscience over comfort, he gave freedom meaning. His death proves a timeless truth, that liberty begins long before it is written into law. It begins in the individual soul, where truth demands courage and courage demands sacrifice. This is why his story still matters. Every empire that forgets conscience collapses. Every generation that trades truth for comfort repeats the same trial, only with new faces. The crowd changes, the city changes, but the question remains, will you obey your conscience or the crowd? Will you protect the truth or your own comfort? Every age must answer for itself. And yet the seed endures. It grows in every dissident who speaks against tyranny, in every journalist who risks reputation for honesty, in every citizen who refuses to surrender reason to rage. It grows wherever a person asks, what is right, even when it is dangerous to do so. The soil of liberty is conscience. And conscience was born the moment an old man in Athens chose truth over obedience. 2,000 years later, we still live in the shadow of that choice. We still walk the path he cleared with his life. We still measure our own courage by his example. The city that condemned him remembered him too late, but the world that followed could never forget. Because the seed of liberty, once planted, never dies. It lies dormant until each generation decides to water it again, with honesty, with courage, with sacrifice. Socrates showed that the freedom to think is not given by rulers. It is claimed by those who will not stop asking questions. And that is why his voice still echoes through the centuries, reminding us that the fight for liberty never ends. It only changes hands.